Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey, Broadcasters Reflect on the Fastest Game on Earth, and coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Red Wings are back in action at LCA tonight, taking on the San Jose Sharks for the second of two meetings. Now, it used to be a time where the Red Wings took on these guys a few in the regular season and then a few more in the postseason. Back in '94, the Red Wings were the number one seed, and the Sharks are coming off of a 70 or maybe even a 72 loss season prior. And so record-breaking losses. Number 8 versus number 1. Nobody in their right mind probably would have thought that the Sharks would win this series. They did, in fact, force it to go. Well, the Red Wings were the ones who forced Game 7, but it turned out to be a Game 7 at the Joe, and the Sharks won by a goal. And it was if you've ever read or listened to the Voices of Hockey, it's a huge part of the San Jose Sharks chapter. Basically, that being able to top the giants that the Red Wings were, and to have that first playoff win in franchise history. The Red Wings made quick work the next season en route to their Stanley Cup final appearance by sweeping the Sharks. Then there was a little bit of an intermission between these two. Now, that was the time when the Red Wings, between 96 and 2002, and maybe even one more time in 2004. But the Red Wings and Avalanche were obviously in the blood feud in that little intermission. And then 2007, back in action again. The Red Wings win again. 2010 and 2011, different story. Back-to-back Sharks series victories over the Wings, including 2011, where they had a 3-0 series lead. Red Wings won 3 straight to force Game 7, but unfortunately, in the end, came up short in Game 7. So the Sharks have the as far as series edge goes, it's 3-2 Sharks. They won't be playing each other in the postseason unless it's for the Stanley Cup final. But right now, the Sharks are sitting at the 8th seed in the West. So they've been doing pretty well for themselves this season. I think that they were counted out a lot in a lot of chat rooms and a lot of forums. They were counted out probably, especially the way they started the season. But they've been turning it around and have actually made something out of their season. They're 11-10 on the road. The Red Wings are 16-8-1 at home. Gibby should probably be in goal tonight, taking on Askarov. So, it'll be an interesting matchup tonight. Like I said, do not overlook a team like the Sharks. Obviously, when you're used to a team being so bad, you're thinking, okay, well, chalk this one up. This one's a no-brainer. And maybe the Sharks have been feeling that way about the Red Wings because in past seasons, the Red Wings have been the ones who've been just like them, a little bit more middling and down the ladder in their own division. But they're both pretty solid teams right now. And so I think the Sharks are 4th in the Pacific, behind the Oilers, Knights, and Kraken. And obviously the Red Wings are 2nd. We'll talk a little bit about the Atlantic Division in just a minute. So the matchup goes, the Sharks, I said, are looking at it, is like they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're a hot team, and hopefully the rest that the Wings have had over these last 2 days and the travel schedule for the Sharks will go in favor of the Red Wings, and that they can get a win back after having their 4-game winning streak snapped by Boston the other night. Now, like I had mentioned, there's been a couple of days off for the Red Wings. So on the show the last couple of days, we've been kind of dipping into other wells and perhaps getting a little bit of impatience and feeling the ire of those tuning in to say, like, when are we going to talk about the Red Wings again? So I am going to try to address more Red Wings issues today. There's not really, on this particular segment, this is Free for All Friday, and what we're going to talk about right now is the Olympics. But speaking of the Red Wings, as far as the Olympics in Milano next month, it is going to be 3 representing players playing for 3 different countries. Larks is going to be representing the U.S., Raymond's going to be representing Sweden, and Mo is going to be representing Germany. Talking about the specific teams, I was looking at the roster of Canada. Before I get to that, though, interesting matchup last night with the Red Wings off. Being on the West Coast, I'm privy to watch pretty much games into what you guys on the East Coast would call the wee hours of the morning. So when the Golden Knights in Toronto are going to overtime and it's around 10 o'clock at night on the Pacific Coast and you guys are well asleep in your beds, I'm sitting here watching a pretty awesome game. Golden Knights, just interesting enough. Diaforev, I never can get his name right. I always just call him Fev. But he had his basically what he thought was his third goal of the night. It actually got called back because it was offsides, and so obviously being a hat trick, or what people thought was a hat trick, there was a lot of wasted hats on the ice last night, and I hope that those ushers found the owners of all those hats when they scooped them back up. I know that's unrealistic to think about, but if I were to throw my hat on the ice and see the ball or the goal get overturned, I would be really upset. Plus, I would also be disheveled and wondering, I've got hat head right now and nothing to show for it. The Knights ended up getting that game-tying goal, though, with 7 seconds left. It was Hurdle gets it, and then Eichel, just a spectacular move up the way to basically just overtake. I don't even know who was in goal for Toronto last night. But speaking of Eichel's going to be representing the U.S. just like Larks, and so and then Austin Matthews was in the game last night. He also scored. So talking about Team USA, Matthews and Eichel right there, and then Marner on the Knights bench, going to be playing against Eichel if they face off against each other in the Olympics. But Marner going to be playing for Canada, and I was looking at Canada and I wrote down all the representing NHL players on Canada, and it just makes me think, is there really even any reason to have the Olympic hockey right now? Because when I look at this, it just seems like one of these Team USA basketball in '92 kind of situation. Here we go. McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, Marchand, Suzuki, Crosby, Celebrini, Binnington, Marner, Stone, Thompson, Theodore, Morrissey. The top 3 scorers in the NHL are McDavid, McKinnon, and Celebrini, and all 3 of them are on Team Canada. I didn't mention a couple other players because I can't stand them. Tom Wilson is one of them. Anyway, just it'll be interesting to see if U.S. Can stack up against Canada. But looking at that on paper, it is just ridiculous. That is like '92 USA Dream Team basketball with Jordan, Magic Johnson, all the players on that team and Karl Malone, and players who are Hall of Famers all across the board, except for Christian Laettner. But anyway, let's switch back to hockey. Sorry, I got a little off there, but it's kind of the essence of that. When you look at Team Canada going into the Olympics this year, and you got Team USA in the '92 basketball, it's kind of the same thing. Just who is going to beat this roster on paper? Who is going to beat this roster? But the U.S. is capable of miracles. It's 46 years removed from the Al Michaels' call of "Do you believe in miracles?" and us beating the Soviets. So stranger things have happened, I guess. So basically, there were 4 teams that were not playing last night in the Atlantic Division and 4 teams that were. Looking at the Atlantic Division ladder, the Lightning are still up on the Red Wings by a point, having basically won 11 straight games. They haven't really gained any ground, I don't believe, in the last 2 days with the Red Wings being off, because I believe they were off as well. The Canadiens had a chance to tie the Red Wings virtually for the second spot in the Atlantic, but they lost in regulation to the Sabres. So those are 2 that were not in action, the Red Wings and Lightning. And the other 2 that weren't in action are the bottom 2 of the Atlantic Division, and that's Florida and Ottawa. But the 4 teams that were in action are basically right there in the middle of they're the middle 4 in that sandwich of the Atlantic Division. So Buffalo taking on Montreal, beating them. And then Boston won, and Boston, obviously, including the win the other night against us, they've won 5 in a row. So Boston and Buffalo are tied points wise. So they basically hold the 4 and 5 slots in the Atlantic, and then in the 6th slot is Toronto. Toronto really, obviously they got a point last night. Losing overtime, they didn't really gain or lose any ground as far as they didn't, nothing really shifted for them on the ladder. I think Boston was already up on them. It's just, Boston's win yesterday was only a matter of just keeping pace with Buffalo and their hot streak. So this late in the season, I will say it, I'm very surprised to see Florida, the number 7 spot in the Atlantic, this far into the season. But I will never stop saying that do not sleep or fall asleep on the Panthers. Ottawa, a little surprising. Ottawa spent a lot of money over the last couple of seasons, so to see them sitting at the 8th spot right now. But again, I've said a few times before, this league or this division is not separated by too many points from 1 to 8. But we'll start to see those differences start to grow a little bit more between 1 and 8 as the season winds down. But yeah, the bottleneck right there for slots 4 through 6. Four in the 7th slot at Florida, they're not necessarily too far out of any kind of playoff contention. It's kind of like that mental factor, like actually looking at them at 7th place, almost 50 games into the season. It kind of baffles me. But things may change a little bit this weekend. Hopefully, if the Red Wings can get a win tonight and maybe Tampa Bay gets slowed down and gets that 11-game winning streak halted, we'll see the Red Wings back at top of the Atlantic. Now, I have mentioned earlier in this week talking about spotlighting. I spotlighted Finns the other night, rookie, and I noticed that he is pretty, pointless. Pointless in the sense that he hasn't had any points. He's definitely not a pointless player. He's factoring in very much. But another rookie who has been kind of a little light on the scoring side has been Axel. I like just call him Axel because I know I'll mess up Sandin Pellikka if I do it, or I'll end up calling him Pelican like I have too because I just roll it off the tongue so fast. But he's only had 2 points in the last 9 games, and both of them came in the same game. It was against Vancouver. I think that by now it's been last week against Vancouver. So he's had 6 shots on goal over that period of time. So that's 6 shots on goal is not that much. That shows that the Red Wings are really passing around a lot. Not too many people are really dominating the shots. I know that the Cat always is a threat for taking a lot of shots on net, and even Kane has been coming around a lot too. But some of these other guys, I don't want to say down the list or anything like that, but yeah, 6 shots on goal, that's not a lot at all. And he's had low blocks, but he's a minus 16 on the season with 16 penalty minutes. So it's a little tell of two players between Axel and Finns. I was saying the other day that Finns has only been in the penalty box 3 times. He's got 6 minutes. Looks like 16 penalty minutes for Axel. A lot more times for you to create divots to have to replace Axel. So not quite the same. And minus 16. That's pretty tough. That's another one of those, you got a lot of divots to replace. You got a minus 16. So basically 6 of his 12 assists are on the power play. He's sitting there on the line with Finns, Kane, Comfer, and Kopp for the second power play unit. And he's on the second defensive line with Sherratt. So yeah, he's a defenseman. So obviously one of his biggest tasks right now is to basically learn from those other defenders out there. People like Sherratt, people like Sider. Get yourself in there and get your lessons learned. You're not going to be seeing a lot of points a lot of times out of a rookie defenseman because what they're really trying to do is gain that experience and gain that knowledge. So not really clowning on Sandin Pellikka too much by saying this, just saying he's due. I like to say that players are due because usually when I do, they win and score and do everything. It becomes like this is one of those jinx, but in a positive way. So I'm hoping that I'm positively jinxing Axel by saying that he's low points, just the same way as I'm hoping that I was positively jinxing Finn's in yesterday's show, saying how he's had no points in 9 games. They're due. Hopefully we'll see that. Maybe they'll even assist each other on this. On the second line power play tonight against the Sharks. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. When we get back on Monday, we'll have a couple of games to review, a game to preview. This has been Red Wings Daily. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for all your subscriptions. And I've been throwing clips on Instagram. It's obviously gotten the word out a little bit better, and the views have really increased a lot, and the subscriptions have gone up a lot too. So go Wings. Or better put, LGRW from the PNW.